Jim, so these are some of the most common questions we get about this program. The first one is, why should I learn to read fast when I can listen to books or podcasts or videos at double speed?
Yeah, so the research has shown that, yes, of course, I listen to audiobooks, I listen to podcasts, and most of the time when we're doing this, we're doing something else, right? We're driving, or we're working out, or we're doing it while we're cleaning up the house or doing some kind of extra work. And so what we found is that what the research shows is the difference between somebody physically reading a book and listening to it, that the person actually reading it has better comprehension and retention of the information because, and one of the reasons is because they have the complete focus. Where listening to something is very passive, like listening to a television show, right? You're not actively engaged. And we know from the training in Superbrain that learning is not a spectator sport. It requires you to be active because what you put into it is what you get out of it. So when you're reading something, it forces you to engage in the information, to use your imagination. And when you're listening to something, it tends to be more passive, and it also tends to be your total focus is not there, so you have distractions because you're multitasking usually when you're reading. Now, I'm a fan of listening to audiobooks and podcasts again, but I do it for times when I can't actually look and read a book.
Yes.
The other difference also, though, is the mental training. The mental training. Mental training meaning listening to an audiobook activates different parts of your brain than actually actively reading. And so when we talk about where reading is to your mind, what exercise of the body, reading is much better for your mental fitness. The other thing is when you learn how to read faster and you're not sub-vocalizing, you could go faster than those audiobooks even at double speed.
That's true. That's true. So think about it this way. The average book on Amazon, 64,000 words, will take the average person around 8 hours to read. Now, if you listen to it as an audiobook, firstly, even if you double speed that, that's kind of tough to comprehend with the author talking at twice the speed. I've tried it on my own book. I can understand myself, but that's still 4 hours. When you learn speed reading, comprehension is enhanced, but you're able to do that in 2 hours. So you're still saving hours a day. Now, the second question is, I'm naturally a slow reader and thinker by nature. I'm not very academic. Will this still help me?
The answer is 100% yes. So again, regardless of your age, your background, your current career, your education level, your financial situation, your gender, your personal history, your IQ, this works for everybody because it's a skill. It's like learning how to ride a bicycle. It's like learning how to type. So what we're talking about is skill acquisition and development. So it has nothing to do with your level of education or your IQ. When you learn how to learn, you can learn and apply it towards the things that you want to achieve the most. And reading, if you feel like you're a slow reader or you feel like it's difficult, like most things, it's not your fault. It's because you weren't taught properly. And that's why we designed the Quest, especially for you.
Now, the next question is, I love to read novels, to immerse in the book and enjoy it and to build a world in my head as I read. I don't want to do this quickly. I'm afraid that this will prevent me from truly enjoying a book.
So for those of you who love reading fiction, which is really one of my passions, I love reading fiction. When I was out in my neighborhood the other day, somebody came up to me and said, hey, I went through your course and I recently reread a book that I was reading during your course because we allow people to choose their own reading. So when they go through the Quest, if they have to read something or something's been sitting on their shelf or they have to read something at work, practice in that since you have to read it anyway. So it doesn't take any extra time because you have to do it anyway. And then you can do it now better and faster. He's like, I recently read a book that I was reading during your course, practicing with, but the second time it was totally different. And I was like, what do you mean? What book were you reading? He's like, I was reading The Old Man and the Sea. And I was like, well, I don't think Hemingway updated the book recently. Like, how is it different the second time? He was like, after going through this 21-day program, I felt like I was in the book. He said, I could hear the ocean waves. I could feel the sand beneath my toes. He said, the one thing I didn't like was the smell of the fish. And that's deep comprehension. That's a different part of your brain.
But why is that happening?
Because here's what happens. When you learn how to comprehend something, sometimes it's like after going through this course, what people will say is, I feel like I understand things for the very first time, because we show you techniques to activate the right side of your brain. So your left side is linear, it's words, it's logic, it's sounds, right? And now this is a gross simplification, but the strongest readers tend to be not left brain, but they tend to be more right brain, or at least more whole brain. Because if the left side's logical words and language, which is most people when they're reading, The right side is creativity, it's imagination, it's emotion, it's experience. So the goal is to get more of that in your reading. So this person who is using these techniques, all of a sudden they felt like they were in the book. It's much like movies, because nobody, Spielberg and George Lucas, they can't do what you could do inside your own imagination.
Wow. Jim, next question is, tens of thousands of people have taken your first program with Mindvalley, which is called Superbrain. And that's now being translated into like 7 different languages. How is this different from Superbrain?
So Superbrain is very different from the speed reading program. Actually, the speed reading program came and it emerged from Superbrain students. They were asking and actually demanding this program, because in Superbrain we talk about the mechanics of accelerated learning and retaining what you learn. Now, and the best way of learning is through reading. And so Superbrain, if you've gone through it, amazing. If you haven't gone through it, highly recommend it. And the speed reading is like an accelerator for the specific superpower.
But you don't
of reading
have to have
faster.
done Superbrain to do speed reading.
Absolutely not. If you haven't gone through Superbrain and you want to go right into reading, because that's a challenge for you, that's something you feel like you can make leaps and bounds growth in, then absolutely this is the program for you.
Amazing. Now, what would be your message to people who have taken Superbrain? Is this like a level 2 program?
If you've already gone through Superbrain, then this speed reading program really is for you. It came out of the demand of hundreds of our Superbrain Quest graduates saying, Jim, what's the next level? I went through Superbrain, I've enhanced my memory, I could read faster, I know the best daily routines to jumpstart my mind, I have the habits, I got the best brain foods. What do I do now? And the next step is learn how to read better. That's really the key. Now that you've activated that other part of your potential, apply that towards your reading to save time, to become an expert in your field, to be able to have greater confidence and performance in the things you need to be able to do, and to accelerate your career, because the faster you can learn, the faster you can earn.
Beautifully said. Thank you everyone for tuning in. I hope you learned a ton in this webinar, and not just techniques to improve your reading speed, but whole new mental ideas of how we're functioning in a world at such a suboptimal level compared to where we could be, and some of the myths that we need to discard about our brain's ability to read and comprehend. For those of you who are enrolling in this 21-day program, I'm so excited to see how you are going to completely transform the way you show up in the world, because when you get to a level where you're able to adapt and read and get to a book a week, everything changes. This accelerates your personal growth. And if you're here, you believe in personal growth, you're constantly evolving, this is going to make that evolution just go so much faster. So I cannot wait to hear your case studies, your success stories, to hear what this does for you. And thank you so much for tuning in. And thank you, Jim, for coming on set and creating such a remarkable program with us.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Mission.
Thanks, guys.